Hey folks, it's Allie. I just want to tell you some exciting news from the finance department. We are now going to start allowing direct deposit for your expense reimbursements. Through iEmployee, the same system on which we do our electronic timesheets, we're now going to start doing expense reports. So the next video will tell you a little bit on how you actually fill out an expense report in iEmployee, attach your electronic receipts, and send that electronic expense form to your supervisor for approval. Your supervisor then just needs to approve that and send that along to Linda Stelter in Accounts Payable so you can get reimbursed with your next paycheck. Your expense reimbursement gets added to your net paycheck after taxes, and that happens with every bi-weekly payroll. So stay tuned. We'll tell you a little bit on how to actually fill out your expense report, and after that we had a little friend stop by to ask some questions that we think a lot of you may have. So stay tuned, and hopefully we'll get everything answered for you. And if you don't have all the answers from this video, please feel free to you can contact me in the finance department, Allie, or you can also contact Linda Stelter in Accounts Payable. So enjoy. Alright, to do an iEmployee expense report, simply log into the iEmployee website. This is the same password and login that you use to do your iEmployee timesheets. And to complete an expense report, click on the Expenses category, and on the left-hand side you'll see an option for Expense Form. Click on Expense Form. Now to add a new expense report, click on the Add New button. Now for expense reports, we'll probably ask you to put something a little more descriptive to you as to what that expense report is, so you can actually tell one expense report from another expense report. You could put the date, or you could put something like October expenses. Now to actually add items to your expense report, look at the box Date of Expense and click on the pop-up calendar to select your date. Now all you need to do is select the date from your calendar and it'll automatically populate on the screen. So for this one I picked October 31st, 2008. Pick your expense type. I'm going to pick materials and supplies. Now just the same way that you would on your timesheet, pick your department. Then pick your project code. If you have a reference code for lobbying activity, go ahead and select it on this drop-down or drop-up list. Then put a description for your expense. And then to actually enter an amount, you can't actually type the amount in this field. You need to click on the I to the right of the amount box, which will bring up a pop-up box. And this is just so we can have a little more information, so it's easier to match your receipts up to the actual expense on your expense report. So you just simply enter the information into this box, hit save, and under the reimbursable box say yes, and to attach your receipt electronically, and you can attach multiple receipts to one line as long as we can match up your receipt to each of the lines on your expense report that need receipts. Click that yes, you have a receipt, and simply click on the paperclip to the right of the yes to actually upload your receipt. Now to upload your receipt, you would browse to the location in your directory of where that expense receipt is being kept. So these might be on my desktop. and simply click on the file, click open, and then you have to make sure you hit the upload button to actually attach the document. Now once the document is attached to your expense line, you'll see that this is now highlighted in green. So that's all you have to do to add an expense line. If you need to add another line, simply click on Add Line. You can also delete that line, or I'm going to delete this one line, or you can add a copy of the same line. So say you have several expenses that are very similar, you can just add copies of that line and then just change the relevant information like the dates of the expense or the dollar amounts. Once you have finished adding your expense lines, simply scroll to the bottom just as you would on a timesheet and submit this to your supervisor. Now once this has been submitted to your supervisor, you'll see this in your list of expense reports. You can see here, this is my October expense report that I just submitted. You'll see the date submitted. You'll see the amount. This approved amount will be filled in once it's actually approved by your supervisor in accounting. And then once the expense report has been paid, you'll actually see an amount filled here under the paid amount. Now to actually check and see when something was paid, you can click on any of your expense reports, and that'll open the expense report back up. And at the bottom you'll see a little button that says View Payment Summary. And here in the grade box, as you can see, it was added to payroll on October 10th, 2008, and the amount. So that's all there is to entering an expense report.
If I have my expense report direct deposited, where does it go?
Your expense check gets added to your net payroll check, which means it's added to your check after taxes and deductions are taken out. If you normally have a check that's split among different accounts, the expense amount would be added to the account where you have your net check deposited. For example, if I have $50 deposited to my savings account, the rest goes to my checking account. I would still have $50 deposited to my savings, and then the rest of my checking, including my expense reimbursement, will be deposited to my checking account.
What if I don't want my expense check included with my paycheck? Michael Sola.
Okay, well John, if you don't want your expense check included with your paycheck, you should just submit your expenses the old-fashioned way. Submit your supervisor approved expense report with backup to me by Wednesday at noon. If everything's in order, we will cut a check for you and you will have it in your mailbox, or it will be mailed to you on Friday.
What is the deadline for submitting expenses for direct deposit?
If you're submitting expenses to be included in your paycheck, we need to have those turned in with receipts, and your supervisor needs to approve those by Friday noon before the next scheduled payroll pay date. It's the same day and time that your timesheet is due. It's very important that you have all receipts attached and your supervisor approves your expense report in a timely manner so we can get the expense check included in the payroll run.
If you are submitting your expense report the old-fashioned way, I will need to receive it by Wednesday at noon.
What do I do if I lost my receipt for an expense?